Hello, in this video I'm going to be looking at 12 warning signs that you might have been dancing with the devil, to help you process what is happening if you're experiencing overwhelming, unfamiliar emotions that feel like they possess you, so that you're able to recognize what's happening to you and start to take back some control over your life whilst you learn the tools to heal on a deeper level. Welcome to the Divorce Sanctuary. My name's Elizabeth Goddard. I'm author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of Emotional Abuse. On this channel, I'll talk about healing from emotional abuse and divorcing both emotionally as well as physically from the abuser. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back and thank you. Anything that I describe or talk about in the video, you will find the links in the description box below. Most people walking on this planet have very beautiful souls. You may even refer to a few as earth angels. Sadly, there are a percentage of people who have been hurt in some way, and I believe that happened during their childhood where they experienced some form of trauma, leaving them with a wound of abandonment, guilt, shame, or even a mixture of all of them. So if you make sure you stay to the end, as I'm going to share with you some simple techniques that will help you stay out of rumination and start to calm down your body. You may have seen films of evil people. You might have read about them in books, and we have our own idea what evil looks like. It might be the Joker or Hannibal Lecter. It might be Warden Norton from the Shawshank Redemption. It might be Amon, Goeth from Schindler's List, or Bellatrix, Lestrange from Harry Potter. Catherine, Tramell, Basic Instinct. Perhaps it's Norman Bates from Psycho. Or Cruela, Deville, 101 Dalmatians. Maybe yours is Darth, Vada or Voldermort. Based on some of these characters or your own, you may believe you know what a toxic person is like. But what if evil was more covert? As I said, most people walking on this planet are earth angels. Sadly, there is a percentage of people that have been hurt in some way due to perhaps childhood wounds or some form of trauma, and they feel really insecure. It's left them with wounds of abandonment, shame or guilt. But you might have your own wounds that are very similar. They are left hollow and not having any form of extended support network. They have no sense of self. They have huge self-esteem issues. Or this is my theory. Hollow inside, they look at creating a character to distract people from who they really are. They don't like themselves, so they do everything they can to hide who they are, believing no one else will like them either. But what they do is project and distract and coerce and trap people in their lives. They create scenarios where they shower people with compliments and attention and they lure them in. They then need to trap this person so that they don't abandon them, and they create bonds via manufactured situations. They create these situations to make people jealous and make themselves look popular. So why is it then, if we have similar wounds, do we behave differently? This can actually be down to a variety of different reasons. You can have children who are treated differently in a family, the scapegoat, the golden child and the invisible child or children. You can have children who are surrounded by a support network, extended out, who were able to show the child how to thrive, not just survive. And how is it that some people can see straight through the abuser's behaviour and others can't? Perhaps it's on a vibrational level that we attract these abusers into our lives, or is it that they are very good at spotting someone who they can manipulate? Is it perhaps that the nurturer in you sees the broken inner child in them and you want to protect it? Or when they plead with you saying they're never going to do whatever it is again, you help them. You want to help them heal their damaged inner child. Maybe you see their evil leaking out, but you overlook it, or you even excuse their behaviour, as you've heard them talk about their awful childhood. Personally, I believe their damaged inner child doesn't know how to love or how to receive love. You may even have found that they pushed you out the way just to get the attention they needed. They use people like vampires. They suck the life out of them until there's nothing left. And then they discard them without a second thought. So 12 warning signs that you might have been dancing with the devil. Number 1 is red flags. You might have found yourself confused and unable to make decisions. You're in a guiding system which is as old as the universe, picks up that something doesn't quite feel right. It's a gut feeling. So you might have seen or heard odd behaviour, or something didn't feel right. It didn't fit with your reality or life or your beliefs. But you overrode the feelings, brushing them off as these people appeared to be good for you. If something doesn't feel right, it's usually because it isn't. When you highlighted their behaviour or said something, they told you it was you. They made you believe that your inner guidance was broken. Your gut is your second brain. In reality, it really should be our first. But the power of our brains is that we override our emotions. Our gut protects us. It picks up danger. You might have even felt this before when you've been out and the hairs on the back of your neck rise up. Your mind and your body will fight for supremacy, and your brain wins. This is part of the confusion that you're left with, and not being able to trust your own judgment coming out of an abusive relationship. Your emotions are clashing with each other like waves in a storm. You struggle to make a decision because you were told the part of you, that warning system, was broken when it wasn't. Number 2 is blame shifting. You might have found yourself taking responsibility for things that you didn't actually do. The abuser plays the victim and minimises other people's feelings, never taking responsibility for their own actions or the role that they played. They take everything out of context and they manipulate it until it fits for their purpose. They can use circular conversations to confuse you. You believe you've solved the problem. They resurrect it again and again and again. They also use guilt tripping and pity stories. They use gaslighting and other tools to convince you it wasn't their fault. They use smoke and mirrors to create an illusion and distract you. They may use triangulation, bringing in another person, and they might even be fake. They do it to coerce you into believing you are the issue. They don't understand why you are upset with their porn addiction. Everyone at work is doing it. They weren't flirting. Did you not see how John was behaving at that party? And you're left questioning whether this is your fault. Number 3 is lying, half-truths, and withholding information. You might have found yourself confused as nothing made sense. Research has shown that we all lie from in one form or another, but this form of lying is more calculated and harming. You may have told a lie to protect someone's feelings, perhaps about what they were wearing or a new hairstyle. I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, you've had your hair cut, it looks nice." And I thought, no, it doesn't. I had a really nice sculpture bob and somebody had started to cut it and they ruined it. I knew she was saying it to be kind. Pathological lying is where someone lies to gain control over another person. And this is because relationships are games to them. They use lying as a mask, presenting a false image of themselves. They may tell half-truths to cover up cheating or alcoholism, drug use, and sometimes for covering up various illegal activities. I was once told by someone that he used half-truths to keep track of the lies he was telling his wife, so he didn't get caught out having multiple affairs. And they believe these lies themselves. So once those words have passed their lips, they become their new reality. The abuser intentionally withholds information. Challenged or caught out, they might say something like, "But I didn't lie." No, they didn't verbally lie. But withholding information is also lying. Number 4 is crazy ex. You might have found yourself believing the stories of how crazy their exes are. If you start dating someone and they start to talk about their exes far more than any other healthy individual should, take that as a red flag. They may tell you that you're the only person that's fully understood them, red flag, and that you are soulmates. Once they secure you in a relationship, they tell you stories about their crazy ex. They might have been subjected to bipolar or crazy-making behavior during and after the relationship. They may tell you stories of their ex being bitter, jealous, or still in love with them. This is not normal for someone to have attracted so many crazy relationships, and with them being the common thread. Ask yourself, is it possible that they are the reason for the craziness? One of the reasons they do this is that they're looking to hook you into the relationship. They need you secured so you won't abandon them. You're going around telling everyone who'll listen how amazing they are. In fact, what they're doing is they're triangulating you with an ex. They're giving you the information that you need in order to stay in the relationship. They are telling you why this relationship with their ex or exes didn't work. And you're making a mental note never to behave in the same way if you want to keep this amazing relationship. Number 5 is crazy making. You might have believed that you're the crazy one. Their words and behaviour were used to make you question yourself, leaving you full of self-doubt, wondering if you might be going crazy. It's a form of emotional abuse involving mind games. It erodes your confidence, slowly allowing the other person to gain more power and control over you and the relationship. You may have questioned your sanity, finding yourself becoming more emotional, needy, or dependent on this person. And you might have come out of this relationship playing detective. Their mask is slipping. You may no longer be a good supply of attention for them, and they become careless. Your intuition might kick in. Their words and their actions are not matching up. You know something isn't right, but you don't know what it is. And if you find yourself looking for answers or information, feeling so insecure, something that you've never ever felt before, ask yourself why. Normally, you're a trusting and rational person, but something inside clicks and you become a super sleuth, looking for evidence to validate the feelings rather than trusting your gut and walking away. Number 6 is pity party and crocodile tears. You might have found yourself more invested in protecting the relationship and not yourself. They are masters of manipulation. They meticulously plan everything. Just like the stories of their crazy exes, they have many stories about bad childhoods that they can relay when they're needing and craving attention. And at a drop of the hat, they can turn on the tears, pulling at your emotions. Number 7 is future faking. You might have found yourself investing more and more in the relationship, too frightened to quit. You had so much in common. Why hadn't you met this person sooner? How have they been walking a similar path to you, but your paths have never crossed? You start to create a future with them. Sadly, nothing about the future was real, but the stories around it were so believable. They listened to every word that left your lips, to your hopes and dreams. They put on a mask and they played your perfect partner. They intertwined just enough for you to believe that they were invested in the relationship as much as you were. And then you start planning your future together. Or, as they're all thieves, they may steal your dreams for their own. When you're no longer of use to them, they walk away without a backward glance, leaving you crushed and confused. Number 8, there's a pattern. You might be blaming yourself. Do not feel humiliated or stupid. In Dirty John on Netflix, Deborah Newell's lawyer says to her, when a bank gets robbed, you don't blame the bank. Don't blame yourself. You might have sighed relief when they put you back on the pedestal. You may not see if it's until you're out of the relationship, but there is a pattern to this behaviour. It's an ongoing rotation of destructive behaviour used to gain power and control over you and your life. The cycle has 3 stages. Number 1, idealization. This technique is also known as love bombing. At the very beginning of the relationship, everything you say and do is watched and noted. You're swept off your feet with compliments, gifts, days out, meals out. Your every need was catered for, and that was deliberate. Text messages early in the morning ensured they were the first thing you thought about, and the same at the end of the day. You went to bed thinking about them. It allows them to manufacture a relationship where you have so much in common, share so many hopes and dreams, and have the same insecurities. You were told that no one has ever understood them in the way that you do, and that you're soulmates. The second part is devaluation. During this stage, they check that you're more invested in protecting the relationship than you are in protecting yourself. They do this by making comments about your intelligence or your abilities. If you question this, you're perhaps oversensitive or they were only joking. And these subtle put-downs, followed by some idealization, change the chemical reaction in your brain. You become addicted. It is like a drug, and you override your intuition to keep that supply. And the third part is discard. So during this stage, you might experience them withdrawing from you. They might not be as available as they were, and this pattern can continue for a while. And each time they phone or text or be more present in the relationship, they're hooking you back in to your drug of choice and confirming that you are the love of their life and that you're their soulmate. It might be during this stage that you turn detective, and they rotate round this cycle until the final discard. And this is when they've had enough and they become sloppy. Perhaps they have drained you of all of your money, and you're no longer able to support them in the way that you did. Or you have no energy left for them, let alone yourself. They might have found a new source of supply and attention because, in truth, that is what you were to them. You are no longer fit for purpose. They might suggest that you're bipolar, and you might actually wonder if it's true. But I want you to think back to a time before you met this person, and I'm going to bet that you are a normal, functioning person in society. If you do feel that you have a mental health condition, please go and seek help. Like you, they have poisoned and brainwashed everybody else in their lives. The stories they made up about others are very possibly being told about yourself now. Number 9 is your drug of choice. You might be wondering how you got hooked on this drug. So we develop bonds for survival in childhood, usually with our caregiver, which is the foundation of our attachment. When our safety is threatened in some way, we turn to our caregiver for support and protection. During the idealization and devaluation stages, they're seeking power and control. They create trauma, threatening your safety. And the abuser positions himself as the caregiver via the gifts and attention that you were receiving. You may have never experienced this before, this attention, this validation, but it was a manufactured love. When they threaten your safety through their bad behavior, it's them you turn to. You don't turn away from them as you think you would. You turn to them for protection. And this creates a trauma bonding. You rationalize their behavior as you believe they care about you, creating further bonding. And this is the reason you're so connected to them. And when the relationship finishes, you find it difficult imagining life without them. They may use ghosting as a technique. You might experience them withdrawing from you. They may not be as available as they once were. And this pattern can repeat. So each time they phone, text, and become more present in the relationship, they're hooking you back up to your drug of choice. Gaslighting is another technique they use, making you believe something's wrong with you. So gaslighting is really dangerous, creating the feelings of insecurity, confusion, brain fog, self-doubt, fear, not being good enough, feeling vulnerable, powerless. Instead of turning away, you turn to them. Number 10 is loneliness and isolation. Coming out of these relationships, you feel overwhelming loneliness and isolation. They believed that you were their possession and they resented any time that you would spend with other people and the importance that you put on other relationships, including those of your children. If you think back to when you first met them, you might remember telling the world how amazing they were. When you noticed those red flags, you ignored them, or you were given a good reason as to why you should believe them and not listen to anybody else. You get isolated as they can't take the risk of you confiding in anyone and being unmasked. You may isolate yourself, finding this amazing creature who has walked into your life, who you want to spend as much time with as possible. Or you may isolate yourself because part of you knows if you do tell people what is happening in the relationship, they will confirm your fears, that it isn't healthy. You are hooked onto a drug of choice, which is them, and you can't give it up, even though in the relationship you feel lonely. Number 11 is more lies and no responsibility. You might be experiencing a smear campaign. They aren't able to take any responsibility for the pain that they cause. They will start to blame shift, to excuse their behaviour as soon as they realise that they're going to be caught out. They might have turned the conversation around into the reason they took the action and gaslight you. If you hadn't done or said something, then they wouldn't have had to do what they did, confusing you even further. They might even start to deploy their flying monkeys, creating a smear campaign, telling them the stories of your bad behaviour. And it isn't unusual for that to start prior to them leaving the relationship and walking out, as they set up the next stage of their game. Number 12 is rage and injury. You might have found yourself walking on eggshells. They behave in such a selfish way, with a sense of importance and an insatiable need for admiration, wealth, power, or fame. They lack empathy and consideration towards others, feeling entitled to special treatment. They're easily offended and readily hold grudges. They behave like children in an adult's body, unable to take responsibility for any of their actions. And anyone who disagrees with them or their unreasonable expectations might be subjected to their rage. Unmet needs of the child meant that they're unable to master critical emotional development. There are 7 levels of anger, but their rage goes from 0 to 7 in an instance. If they perceive any threat to their fragile sense of self, anything they perceive as a threat to their false self is considered an injury. It's a serious criticism, total rejection, or a threat to their existence. The response is swift, intense, and out of proportion. There are 2 types of rage: explosive or passive-aggressive. The explosive rages are aggressive outbursts, which may be verbal or physical. With the passive-aggressive rages, they withdraw into a sulky, silent treatment as a means of punishment. These relationships destroy you on every level. You are living in a war zone. You might be feeling deeply lonely, or you've lost the ability to trust yourself to do anything. I said at the beginning, I'll give you a few strategies that might help you. The first one would be to trust your instinct, your gut, every day. Start with tiny little things. What you want for breakfast. Listen to your body. What is it telling you? And as you start to do that, you start to coax out those emotions that protect us. The second thing you can do is keep reminding yourself this wasn't your fault. Remember that quote, when a bank gets robbed, you don't blame the bank. The third thing you can do is break the addiction, so you can learn to breathe and ground. The links I put below. And divorce emotionally, understanding about the trauma bonds and what's keeping you trapped, the invisible chains in the relationship. Learn to respond and not react. I'll post some videos and links in the description box below. If you'd like to find out more ways of working with me, I'll put the links below to my website. I do offer one-to-one and I offer courses as well. You can also join me over on Facebook in a private group for women coming out of emotionally abusive relationships and learning how to divorce emotionally. Sending you loads and loads of love.